Your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on the...
Those words marked the moment basketball's golden empire came crashing down. FBI raids, mob connections, and players turning up dead. This isn't just a scandal, it's a full-blown war. What started as a quiet gambling probe has exploded into a national bloodbath, and new leaked footage from inside the arrest proves one thing. This nightmare is only getting started. The empire of deception is falling apart before our eyes. The bright lights, the screaming fans, the billion-dollar deals, the NBA was supposed to be bulletproof. But behind that luxury and fame, a dirty game was being played. A game that's now left 10 players dead, dozens locked up, and federal agents pointing straight at the mafia.
NBA coach and current Miami Heat player are two of the people in federal custody as part of a major gambling sting. Operation Royal Flush targeted illegal sports betting and poker games put on by the mafia. Portland Trailblazers head coach and former Detroit Pistons star Chauncey Billups and the Miami Heat's Terry Rozier were both arrested early this morning.
What began as whispers of shady bets has turned into one of the most jaw-dropping criminal investigations in sports history. This isn't just about gambling, it's about organized crime wearing sneakers and jerseys. Hall of Fame coach Chauncey Billups in handcuffs. Miami Heat star Terry Rozier dragged into custody. Former player Damon Jones hit with multiple charges. The FBI says these are only the first dominoes to fall in a league built on lies, greed, and blood.
FBI says the suspects used special glasses and contact lenses that could read invisible markings on cards. Casino security expert Sal Piasante showed us some of the technology.
I can't tell you what that top card is, but if I pop in contact lenses, or if I'm wearing my poker glasses, when you look at that card through that filter, you'll see what that card is.
The FBI says the suspects also used card shufflers that were rigged and used what's described as an X-ray poker table that allowed them to see face-down cards through the felt on the table.
Then came the moment that shattered every illusion fans ever had about the game. October 23rd, 2025, when FBI Director Kash Patel stepped up to that podium in New York and destroyed the myth that basketball was just entertainment. This was not an isolated case, he declared. This was Operation Royal Flush, the code name for two massive criminal plots. One involved insider sports betting schemes worth millions, and the other, high-stakes poker games rigged with tech straight out of Mission Impossible. Let's get into the madness behind the sports betting side of this mess. The FBI called it Operation Nothing But Bet, and trust, that name fits perfectly. Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, pulling in a cool $26 million a year, allegedly became one of the main players in this wild scheme. On March 23, 2023, federal prosecutors say Rozier did something straight out of a movie. The FBI claims he personally tipped off his childhood friend, De Niro Laster, that he was planning to fake an injury and exit the game against the New Orleans Pelicans early, blaming foot discomfort after only 9 minutes on the court. Insane, right? Now here's where it gets dark. This so-called injury wasn't just for rest. It was a setup.
Gambling probe involved 11 states and 31 different people. FBI Director Kash Patel says there was tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft, and the indictments include several members of families tied to the mafia.
Rozier's crew allegedly placed over $200,000 in bets on his understats. Points, rebounds, assists, basically betting that he'd flop. One of the bettors even dropped 30 separate wagers, totaling nearly $14,000 in just 46 minutes at a Mississippi casino. And every single one of those bets hit. Everyone. The feds say once the cash started rolling in, Rozier himself was right there in the room counting the dirty money with his friends. Piles of bills spread out like something out of Breaking Bad. They even traced deliveries of that cash to multiple drop spots, including Rozier's own home. Imagine that. A multi-millionaire NBA star, a man earning more in one season than most people will see in a lifetime.
Know everybody that's at play. And I don't like to sit up here and be hypocritical about certain things. We all know the rules, we all know the letter of the law, and it's just unfortunate. Innocent to proven guilty, but usually when the FBI has something, they have you. I've been in many of those investigations. They'll wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but when they come knocking on your door, they have something. And we all know the letter of the law when it comes to gambling in sports games.
Sitting around celebrating with crooks over rigged bets. The FBI says that's when U.S. Integrity, the watchdog group that monitors suspicious sports activity, went into full alert. At exactly 2:24 p.m. that same day, they blasted out a nationwide warning as betting on Rozier's prop lines spiked through the roof. Within an hour, sportsbooks in Louisiana and Mississippi had to shut it all down. The sportsbooks knew something was off, and fast. Within hours, at least 6 different betting companies started sounding the alarm, all flagging the same suspicious activity. Huge bets placed in tight time windows, the same props being hammered over and over, and accounts already known for shady gambling patterns. It was like a neon sign flashing insider info, the kind of red flag that even Vegas couldn't ignore. At Harrah's Gulf Coast Casino, things got heated. They straight up refused to pay out the winnings at first, citing their terms against insider trading and fraudulent wagers. But when the bettors started threatening lawsuits and lawyers began circling, the casino caved.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any.
On April 12, 2023, Harrah's quietly paid out over $13,000, cash that the FBI would later tag as evidence in a growing federal case. And by then, the paper trail was already burning hot. But Terry Rozier wasn't the only baller under fire. Oh no, this scandal was just warming up. Enter Damon Jones, the former NBA journeyman who spent 11 years bouncing between teams like the Nets, Celtics, Warriors, Mavericks, and Heat. He might have only averaged 6.6 points per game, but Jones still raked in about $22 million during his career. His most famous stretch came with the Cleveland Cavaliers from 2005 to 2008, playing alongside a young LeBron James and even reaching the 2007 NBA Finals. That bond with LeBron? It lasted long after the Cavaliers' days ended. By the 2022 to 2023 season, Jones was still around. Not as a player, but as what the feds called a vibes guy. He'd show up at Lakers practices, help with shooting drills, and chill at team facilities like he still had an active spot on the roster. Everyone thought it was harmless, until the feds connected the dots. That friendly access turned into a federal disaster when, on February 9th, 2023, just days after LeBron became the NBA's all-time leading scorer, prosecutors say Jones sent a text message that changed everything. The text read, "Get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information is out." The text that blew everything wide open read, "Player 3 is out tonight. Bet enough so Jones can eat too." Sick, that message sent chills down investigators' spines. Player 3 wasn't just anyone. It was LeBron James himself. At the time, LeBron wasn't listed on any injury report, no warnings, no whispers. But Damon Jones allegedly knew ahead of time that LeBron would sit out due to ankle soreness. The Lakers went on to lose 115 to 106, and guess what? The bettors cashed in big. Sources close to LeBron have strongly denied any connection, saying he had no clue about Jones's actions and that he'd never put his integrity or the league's reputation on the line. But the damage was already done. And it didn't stop there. Jones allegedly doubled down. On January 15th, 2024, prosecutors say he leaked more inside info, this time about another Lakers star, believed to be Anthony Davis. The info? That AD wouldn't be playing against the Oklahoma City Thunder. One bettor, thinking it was a lock, dropped a $100,000 wager against the Lakers. But here's the twist. Anthony Davis actually played. The Lakers won, the bet tanked, and Jones allegedly tried to smooth things over by refunding $2,500 for the bad tip. What kind of mess is that? But this story takes an even wilder turn, because the next name in this scandal is none other than Chauncey Billups, 5-time NBA All-Star, 2004 Finals MVP, and Certified Basketball Hall of Famer. According to federal investigators, Billups has been implicated in a massive web of deceit, a sprawling conspiracy that ties together insider betting and high-stakes poker games bankrolled by 4 of New York's most notorious crime families, the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese. Yeah, you read that right. The mob was allegedly in bed with basketball royalty. Billups and Jones were reportedly used as face cards, recognizable NBA names brought in to lure wealthy targets, the so-called whales or fish, into thinking they were getting the chance of a lifetime to play poker with legends. These secret games went down everywhere. The Hamptons, Miami, Las Vegas, and Manhattan. But the glitter was just bait. The feds say every single person at those tables except the victims was in on the con. Over time, the FBI estimates that players were scammed out of more than $7.15 million since April 2019, with one poor soul alone losing $1.8 million. The tech behind this poker scandal wasn't some cheap trick or old-school marked deck. This was next-level deception. Forget your grandpa's card games. This was high-tech cheating straight out of a spy movie. Professional poker champ Doug Polk broke it down and confirmed the horrifying truth. The operation used technology so advanced, even seasoned pros wouldn't catch it. We're talking about gear that's almost impossible to detect in private games, he said, and he wasn't exaggerating. The setup was pure genius and pure evil. They had modified card shuffling machines that looked perfectly normal on the outside, but hidden inside were miniature cameras scanning every single card as it passed through. Those scans were then sent wirelessly to an offsite operator who analyzed the data in real time and fed the results right back to a designated quarterback at the table. That quarterback acted like a puppet master, receiving signals through a regular-looking cell phone or subtle vibrations from modified electronic devices. Using prearranged gestures, like tapping poker chips, adjusting glasses, or even shifting posture, they'd secretly communicate which cards were hot and exactly how to play each hand for maximum payout. Insane, right? But that's only the first layer. The crew also used infrared contact lenses and custom eyeglasses equipped with filters that could read invisible barcodes printed on the cards. These were professional grade mark decks, undetectable to the naked eye, but crystal clear through those special lenses. Imagine sitting at the table thinking you're reading bluffs, while your opponent literally sees your whole hand like it's face up. And it didn't stop there. The tables themselves were rigged. The FBI found X-ray poker tables, built with hidden scanners under the felt, letting cheaters see face-down cards in real time. On top of that, they discovered analyzer devices disguised as smartphones. These could scan an entire deck in seconds, calculate every outcome, and determine who would win before the first card even hit the table. That's not luck. That's digital sorcery. The FBI called the precision of the system eerie and almost supernatural. And after years of digging, they had the receipts to back it up. More than 24 search warrants, hours of video evidence, and mountains of seized equipment later, it's clear this wasn't just a game gone wrong. The FBI's evidence didn't stop with the gadgets. They had over 3,000 recorded phone calls exposing just how deep this web ran. When victims couldn't cough up their debts, mafia enforcers stepped in, threatening people, extorting families, even robbing folks at gunpoint. This wasn't gambling gone wrong. It was a criminal enterprise disguised as a game. Chauncey Billups' attorney came out swinging, issuing a strong denial, saying his client has never and would never gamble on basketball games, adding that men of integrity do not cheat or defraud others. But here's the thing. When the FBI spends years building a case, they don't show up empty-handed. They come with receipts, recordings, witnesses, the works. In total, 31 people were arrested and tens of millions of dollars in fraudulent transactions were uncovered. Multiple NBA figures, 4 powerful mafia families, and a trail of corruption that shook the entire sports world to its core. And here's the part that really sends chills. The NBA already investigated Terry Rozier back in 2023. They found no violations. They cleared him. Yet, less than 2 years later, FBI Director Kash Patel stood at that podium announcing Rozier's arrest as part of one of the largest sports corruption busts in American history. So tell me, how are fans supposed to trust the NBA's internal investigations after that? October 23rd, 2025, the day the whole empire fell apart. It didn't start like any regular NBA morning. While fans were hyped for another season, federal agents were raiding homes coast to coast in one of the most coordinated takedowns in sports history. In Portland, Oregon, Chauncey Billups was arrested just hours after coaching a game. Imagine! A Hall of Famer, a Finals MVP, let out in handcuffs while his stunned team watched from the tunnel. Over in Florida, Terry Rozier was taken into custody too, appearing later in an Orlando courtroom wearing his Charlotte Hornets sweatshirt, the same one he'd been seen repping proudly days before. By sundown, over 30 people were behind bars, from professional gamblers to mob-connected middlemen, all tied to this massive web of corruption. The list of charges looked like a mob indictment: wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, illegal gambling, extortion, and robbery conspiracies. Each one a federal felony carrying serious time. Wire fraud alone, 20 years in prison, add in money laundering, another 20. And that's before you even touch the organized crime charges. Those charges could mean decades behind bars. Real prison time, not fines or suspensions. But here's the part that's driving fans and insiders absolutely crazy. The NBA already looked into Terry Rozier back in 2023 after U.S. Integrity first flagged those suspicious betting patterns. The league claimed they ran a thorough investigation, interviewing Rozier and combing through his phone records. And then, get this, on January 30th, 2025, the NBA officially cleared him of any wrongdoing, saying they found no violations. Let that sink in. The same incident the FBI just arrested him for, the league had already reviewed and called clean. How does that even happen? When the news broke, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had no choice but to speak up. In his first public statement, he tried to explain the massive gap between the NBA's investigation and the FBI's. Silver said the league simply doesn't have the same power that federal agents do. No subpoena authority, no ability to get court-approved wiretaps, and no access to private bank or financial records. Basically, the league can ask questions, but it can't make anyone answer. Silver admitted that without the threat of criminal prosecution or jail time, witnesses can just stay quiet, lie, or ghost investigators completely. We can't put anyone under oath. He said, we can't seize evidence, we can't force cooperation. So when you think about it, the NBA was trying to investigate a full-blown criminal conspiracy with its hands tied behind its back. It's like sending a referee to stop a mob war. Polite questions aren't getting you anywhere when millions of dirty dollars are moving under the table. And that's exactly what happened. The league's limited tools left them blind to the web of lies right under their nose. They were up against professionals, criminals who knew the system and played it perfectly. They scrubbed their phones, hid their money, and smiled their way through every interview, leaving investigators chasing ghosts. When Adam Silver learned the truth, that one of his own stars and even a Hall of Famer had been caught in a federal dragnet, he said he felt a pit in his stomach. He described himself as deeply disturbed and told reporters that nothing is more sacred to the NBA than the integrity of the competition. Adam Silver tried to calm the storm by calling for enhanced federal regulations to protect the integrity of the game, but come on. Where was all this energy before the arrest hit? Where was this concern when the NBA was signing billion-dollar deals with gambling companies, proudly slapping betting logos all over broadcasts and arenas? Where was this outrage when they were promoting prop bets to boost fan engagement and rake in profit? Ever since the 2018 Supreme Court decision that legalized sports betting nationwide, America's been gambling like never before. Over $150 billion in wagers every year. The NBA saw that money train coming and jumped right on it, embracing sportsbooks like best friends at the bar. But now, when the dark side of that partnership explodes in their face, suddenly it's all about ethics and concern for integrity? Please. On TNT's Inside the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal didn't hold back. He said he was ashamed that players he once respected would risk their families, their freedom, and their careers over such foolishness. "You made it to the top," he said, practically yelling. "You got everything, and you throw it all away for a bet?" Shaq's right. When the FBI spends years on a case, they don't move without hard proof. They come armed with recorded calls, video surveillance, bank statements, and witnesses flipping with insider testimony. Every dollar traced, every meeting documented. This was a mountain of evidence stacked sky high. But the debate didn't stop there. Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith went at it on live TV. The tension was real, and the emotions were raw. Barkley called the whole thing pure stupidity, visibly angry and confused about why multimillionaire athletes would ever gamble with their own legacies. "These dudes got wealth, fame, everything people dream about," he snapped. "And they throw it away for what? A few stacks? That's not just dumb, that's tragic." He's got a point. Terry Rozier makes $26 million a year. Even if he cleared $50,000 or $100,000 from the scheme, that's less than half of 1% of his income. Why would anyone risk a $150 million career over that kind of pocket change? But Kenny Smith fired back, and his words hit differently. He said gambling addiction is real, a psychological trap that doesn't care how rich, famous, or smart you are. It completely overrides common sense, turning reason into noise and impulse into control. Gambling addiction, especially, is a silent monster. There's no smell, no track marks, no hangover. It's invisible, psychological, and that's what makes it so dangerous. People suffering from it can keep up appearances for years, smiling on the outside while their entire lives quietly collapse behind the scenes. That's why both Barkley and Kenny Smith had a point during that heated debate. Barkley wasn't wrong. It is unbelievably stupid to throw away a multi-million-dollar career for pocket change. But Kenny was right too. Addiction can make even the smartest, most disciplined people act completely out of character. You can't logic your way out of an obsession that's hijacked your reward system. And here's the thing. Gambling culture has been baked into NBA life for decades. Players have always gambled on everything, from team flights to locker room dares. On planes, they'll sit in circles for hours playing poker or bourrée, a fast-paced Louisiana card game where stakes can skyrocket to tens of thousands of dollars per hand. Some nights, entire paychecks change hands before the wheels even touch the runway. Then there are the hotel games. Suites turned into mini casinos during road trips with decks of cards flying, cash stacked high, and laughter masking the pressure of losing thousands before sunrise. And when they're off the clock, many hit the real casinos in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, or even overseas. They're treated like royalty. VIP treatment, free rooms, luxury meals, and red carpet access to private high-limit areas. For most, it's harmless fun. A way to bond, blow off steam, and flex that baller lifestyle. But for a small percentage of players, that thrill turns into a trap. The bets get bigger, the losses pile up, and suddenly, what started as fun becomes desperation. Especially for those already deep in debt or chasing that next adrenaline high. At some point, that thin line between casual gaming and full-blown crime just vanishes. What starts as friendly competition turns into dangerous temptation, and once you cross that line, there's no going back. Even Lakers coach JJ Redick saw it coming and tried to warn his players. He held team meetings addressing the scandal head-on, telling his guys to keep it front of mind and sharing wild stories about how intense those card games can get during flights, with pots climbing so high they'd make a casino blush. But let's be real, Education only goes so far when someone's already compromised by addiction, money problems, or criminal ties. You can hand out all the pamphlets you want, but if a player owes the wrong people money, they're already trapped. Just look at Jonte Porter, banned for life in April 2024 after the league caught him manipulating prop bets. Everyone thought he was just another cheater, but now, federal prosecutors say there's way more to the story. They revealed that 2 defendants threatened Porter over massive gambling debts, forcing him to keep throwing games and feeding information even after he begged to get out. Imagine that, a player trying to walk away but held hostage by his own mistakes, and the people profiting off them. Porter has since pleaded guilty and is set to be sentenced in December 2025. A tragic example of how far this corruption reaches. And that raises a terrifying question. How many other players are stuck in the same nightmare? How many owe dangerous people money? How many are being forced to leak info or tank performances just to stay alive? The NBA might only be seeing the surface, but beneath it, this thing could go way deeper. FBI Director Kash Patel made that clear in his last press conference, saying, "This represents only the tip of the iceberg." His words hit like a gut punch. Because if this is just the beginning, what's still hiding under the surface could destroy everything fans thought they knew about basketball. The arrest so far might just be the warm-up. More players, more coaches, maybe even college programs could be next in line. Nobody's safe from scrutiny now. Not when the Bureau's digging through years of phone records and money trails. And the fallout's already starting. The Portland Trailblazers immediately placed Chauncey Billups on indefinite leave, handing the reins to Tiago Splitter as interim coach. The Miami Heat officially sidelined Terry Rozier, while both he and Chauncey Billups now face maximum sentences of 40 years behind bars, 20 for wire fraud and 20 for money laundering. Meanwhile, Damon Jones stands out as the only person caught in both criminal schemes, making him the bridge between the gambling scandal and the poker ring. All 3 have entered not guilty pleas, but even if the courts clear them, the damage is done. Rozier's attorney, Jim Trusty, blasted the FBI's handling of the arrests, saying the tactics were designed for public humiliation. But the truth is, perception is everything. No matter what happens in court, these names are now permanently tied to FBI mugshots, mafia ties, and rigged gambling schemes. Even an acquittal can't wash that stain away. And now, Congress is stepping in. 6 members of the House Committee have demanded a full briefing from Adam Silver by October 31st, 2025. They want every detail: how the NBA enforces its code of conduct, how it monitors insider leaks, and what safeguards failed to prevent this scandal from happening in the first place. This kind of congressional scrutiny hasn't hit sports this hard since baseball's steroid era, and insiders are already calling Silver's upcoming testimony potentially explosive. But here's where it gets real. Let's talk about the part nobody in the league wants to admit. The NBA didn't just stumble into this mess. They helped create it. For years, the league lobbied for the legalization of sports betting, shouting about transparency and regulation while cashing in on billion-dollar deals. Now that everything's falling apart, they're suddenly acting shocked? Please. Back in 2014, Adam Silver even wrote an op-ed for the New York Times, pushing for legal sports betting. He argued that regulation and transparency are better than prohibition and underground markets. And when the Supreme Court struck down PASPA in 2018, effectively legalizing sports betting nationwide, Silver got exactly what he wanted. After that, the NBA didn't tiptoe into the gambling world. They sprinted straight into it, arms wide open and wallets even wider. The league jumped into massive partnerships with DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, and Caesars. They plastered betting lines across live broadcasts, added in-game odds to highlight reels, and even launched entire TV segments dedicated to betting analysis and predictions. The NBA's current $76 billion media deals aren't just built on talent and star power. They're built on fan addiction. Let's be real. Those massive numbers come from viewers who are financially invested in the outcome. When fans have money riding on a game, they're glued to the screen, watching longer, screaming louder, and sitting through commercials they'd normally skip just to see if their bet hits. That's not passion, that's business. But here's the dirty little secret nobody in the league office wants to talk about. Every single sports league that's jumped into bed with gambling companies has seen a rise in integrity issues. This isn't coincidence. It's cause and effect. When you normalize betting, flood broadcasts with gambling ads, and create an entire ecosystem built around wagering on every single play, you're practically handing cheaters a playbook. What used to be a game about pride and performance has turned into a marketplace for manipulation. Every dunk, foul, or turnover has a price tag now. The more gambling is baked into the entertainment, the easier it becomes for people with inside info to cash out in silence. The biggest culprit? Prop bets. They've exploded in popularity because they give fans action on every moment of a game. Not just the final score, but everything in between. We're talking individual stats, quarter-by-quarter points, three-pointers, fouls, rebounds, even who calls the next time out. Hundreds of micro outcomes all turned into potential profit. But here's the problem. Prop bets are uniquely dangerous. Why? Because one player can manipulate the result without ever changing the game's winner. It's the perfect crime. Take the Terry Rozier situation. He exits early claiming a foot injury. The Hornets can still beat the Pelicans, so nobody watching the scoreboard suspects a thing. But every single fan who bet on Rozier's stats, his points, rebounds, or assists just got cleaned out. That one minor injury destroyed hundreds of thousands in bets without raising a single red flag about the final score. That's why these criminal networks targeted prop bets so aggressively. They're high reward, low risk. You can rack up massive profits without setting off alarms in Vegas or at the sportsbooks. The team still looks clean, the game seems legit, and the house keeps making money. Meanwhile, insiders are walking away with bags full of illegal cash. The casinos and sportsbooks never saw it coming because they weren't even looking in the right place. They were focused on major game outcomes. Wins, losses, point spreads, not whether a mid-tier player hit the over or under on 15.5 points. That's where the real manipulation slipped through. In response, the NBA is now scrambling for damage control. Commissioner Adam Silver is pushing for tighter federal regulations, saying the current patchwork of 50 different state systems is too confusing and too weak. He's specifically calling for limits on certain prop bets, especially the ones targeting low-minute players or single in-game actions. The kind of bets that are way too easy to rig from the inside. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe this problem isn't about regulation at all. Maybe the entire setup is just rotten. Maybe professional sports and gambling can't peacefully coexist when the stakes involve billions of dollars flying around. Just think about it. These players are already multimillionaires, but they're watching billions being wagered on their names. They see betting companies, casinos, and leagues cashing out big from the gambling ecosystem built around their talent. So some of them start thinking, if everyone's eating off my performance, why shouldn't I grab a plate too? That's the twisted logic this system breeds. And it's tearing the league apart from the inside. Even Tim Donaghy, the disgraced NBA referee who served 15 months in prison for betting on games he officiated back in 2007, is now weighing in on the scandal. He's predicting it'll spread like wildfire. And if anyone knows how easy it is to rig a game from the inside, it's him. Donaghy admitted to betting on more than 40 games a season, winning an unbelievable 77% of his picks and pocketing $300,000 before the FBI finally caught up. After his scandal, the NBA promised it had cleaned house, introducing stricter referee monitoring, improved game data tracking, and supposedly airtight systems to prevent inside manipulation. But clearly those reforms didn't go far enough, because here we are again, and this time it's not just a rogue ref, it's players, coaches, and even people with mob ties. And let's not forget the Jontay Porter case in 2024. That should have been the giant red flag waving in the league's face. Porter got banned, charged, and publicly shamed, but what did the NBA really change afterward? Practically nothing. The same broken systems that let him manipulate prop bets stayed in place. The NBA is staring down one of the darkest moments in its history, a crisis so massive it rivals the 1951 point shaving scandal that almost destroyed college basketball, or even baseball's steroid era that shattered public trust. But here's the difference. This time, the league can't play dumb. They invited this chaos by embracing the gambling industry without building proper safeguards. Harvard law professor Mike McCann didn't mince words. He warned that the NBA could face billions in legal costs and brand damage before this is over. Civil lawsuits from victims, fraud claims from betting companies, and sponsorship deals evaporating overnight. The financial fallout could be catastrophic. In Portland, fans are heartbroken, calling Chauncey Billups' alleged involvement a total betrayal. He was supposed to lead with integrity, one fan said, not deal cards for the mob. And in Miami, it's the same heartbreak. Fans can't believe Terry Rozier, one of their own, might have helped rig games for money. The betrayal cuts deep because fans aren't just emotionally invested. They're financially invested too. Now, people are asking the question nobody wants to answer. Were the games they watched and bet on even real? Or were they part of some sophisticated con designed to drain wallets while keeping viewers entertained? That's a terrifying thought. Meanwhile, the betting companies are doing damage control, claiming they're the victims here. They say their internal monitoring systems helped uncover the suspicious patterns that led to these arrests. They argue that regulated betting is safer than underground gambling because of oversight and transparency. But let's be honest, that argument falls apart fast. Without legalized sports betting, there wouldn't be hundreds of thousands of dollars floating around in prop bets ripe for manipulation. Legalization didn't fix the problem. It created the market that criminals exploited. So, what's next for Billups, Rozier, and Damon Jones? The road ahead looks brutal. All three are facing federal criminal trials, with potential sentences stretching into decades behind bars. Jontay Porter, whose case first exposed cracks in the system, is expected to get between 3.5 to 4 years when sentenced this December. And that's with cooperation and addiction cited as mitigating factors. For the NBA, there's no going back. The league is almost guaranteed to impose lifetime bans on anyone convicted. The precedent's already there. Jack Molinas was banned in 1954 for betting on his own games, and Jontay Porter got the same punishment in 2024. So if Billups and Rozier are convicted, their careers are done, over, erased. That's not just emotional loss either. That's financial devastation. Billups earns around $4 million a year coaching and made over $100 million during his playing career. Rozier's current contract is worth more than $26 million annually. Adam Silver has gone on record calling for federal legislation, demanding uniform national standards and bans on certain prop bets. But come on, is that really enough? Can a few new rules patch up a system that's already rotten to the core? Some experts say the only way to save basketball's reputation is for the NBA to cut all ties with gambling partnerships completely. Others argue players should be banned from gambling altogether, and teams should even consider polygraph testing to detect hidden betting activity. Wild? Maybe. But these are the uncomfortable questions the league can't avoid anymore. Because right now, the NBA's credibility is hanging by a thread. Fans don't know who to trust. Every missed free throw, every last-minute substitution, every unexpected injury, it all looks suspicious now. Can the NBA restore faith, or are we entering a dark new era where every close game feels like it's rigged? Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation isn't done. Not even close. More arrests are expected, more evidence is surfacing, and every new detail makes this web of corruption look even uglier. Across the globe, basketball fans are asking the same haunting question. How many games were actually manipulated? When FBI Director Kash Patel took the mic, his warning was crystal clear. The federal government is treating this as a priority case, he said. We have the resources to pursue these investigations for years, and we will not be intimidated by high-profile defendants. That statement hit like a thunderclap. This isn't some minor scandal. This is a national crisis. Tens of millions of dollars in dirty money, a multi-year investigation, mafia families, NBA stars, tech-driven cheating, and even armed threats against victims. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about corruption infecting an entire institution built on fame and fortune. And the saddest part? Everyone saw this coming. Every warning sign was there. Every expert said it would happen. From the 1919 Black Sox scandal to the 1951 college basketball fix to Tim Donaghy's 2007 referee scandal, history has screamed the same lesson. Mix insider access with gambling money and corruption will follow. The NBA ignored those warnings because the money was just too sweet to resist. They signed hundreds of millions in gambling deals, plastered sports books across broadcasts, and turned betting into a centerpiece of fan engagement. The league didn't just tolerate gambling, it marketed it, wrapped it in glitz, and called it innovation. So here's where the NBA stands. They've only got two choices. Either keep pretending gambling corruption can be managed with after-the-fact punishments and PR cleanups, or tear it all down and rebuild from the ground up with real safeguards that actually protect the game. There's no middle ground anymore, the damage is already done. As for the ones caught up in this scandal, they made their choices, and now the bill's coming due. Whether it's federal prison time, lifetime bans, financial destruction, or all of the above, their legacies are permanently tainted. The glory's gone, the careers are finished, and their names will forever be linked to one of the darkest chapters in NBA history. And make no mistake, this isn't over. The FBI investigation is still unfolding, and agents are already hinting that more arrests are coming. Fans everywhere are left asking the same chilling questions. How many games were fake? How many players knew? And how deep does this rabbit hole really go? One thing's certain, the NBA will never be the same again. The innocence? Gone. The trust? Shattered. The image of the game we thought we knew has been replaced by suspicion and fear. Now, every buzzer beater, every injury, every last-minute call, it all comes with a shadow of doubt. This is the new era. Professional sports in the age of legalized gambling, where the line between competition and corruption is paper thin. The nightmare that everyone warned about is here, and it's only just beginning. Welcome to the chaos, where billion-dollar bets meet broken dreams and the truth always costs more than anyone's willing to pay. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the NBA can ever recover from this? Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button so you never miss another breakdown, and click one of the videos on your screen to keep diving into the madness.